Hey guys, I am here today with another ARC review, if a little bit later than I planned, but that's okay because I actually have like a lot to say about this, and so I've just been thinking about how I want to say it and what type of review I want to make because I'm just a little bit all over the place with this book. It is a romance novel, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it's like really skating on the edge for me of being a romance novel versus women's fiction, and we are going to talk about all of that. But the book in question is called Just Playing House by Farah Heron. I read another book by this author called Accidentally Engaged, which I did review on YouTube, so I will link that up above. And I really enjoyed that book. That one was a fake dating romance that involved a cooking show, and both of the characters were of color, South Asian, and there was recipes at the back, and it was this amazing family and friend affair with the cutest couple, like faking it for a cooking show, and I really loved it. And so if that's something that you might be interested in, you may also like that book as well. This book is related, so I also bring that up because the characters from Accidentally Engaged are friends with one of the characters who shows up in this book, so that may also be a thing that you may want to know. You absolutely, though, do not have to read them in any particular order. I even forgot that they were the characters from Accidentally Engaged until they give more context later on. So again, this is an ARC review, so thank you to the publisher and Edelweiss for my free advance review copy. So Just Playing House is the story of Marley and Nick, or Maureen and Nikhil. They both have more English names, more American names, and then they both also have their South Asian names that they are used kind of interchangeably throughout the book. So if I use either one, I'm very sorry. But this is one that kind of opens with Marley at her job, where she is a luxury fashion sales associate. And she has been trying for years and years to become a personal shopper, get off the sales floor and become like a client-based personal shopper. And out of the blue, this perfect opportunity falls into her lap, where this big major movie star has come to the store that she works for and wants her to be his personal stylist. And she's like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is my big break. I'm so excited. Well, it turns out that the guy who has asked for her help is her high school crush slash prom date, Nick or Nikhil, who has just been cast as a superhero in the new upcoming, they call it Ironis 3 film. He has been cast as a beloved superhero character called the Bronze Shadow. And in the comic books, this character is white, and they have gone a different direction, this movie studio, and they have cast a South Asian actor. And so it's just like a really big deal. At this time, Nick has not even been announced yet, but the studio is already preparing for the backlash against casting Nick instead of a white person. Nick realized that Marley was a fashion consultant, and he has been buffeted from all sides by his agent, his handlers, the studio. He's just really feeling totally adrift. He's never had anything nearly this big happen in his acting career. He's mostly been a comedian and in small bit parts. And so when he realizes that Marley, this girl that he knew in high school who he had the biggest crush on, who was his prom date, was in the business, he reached out and basically said, hey, I want to work with her, hoping that she would add like a little bit of connection and, you know, friendship to this big life-changing experience that he's going through. What he doesn't realize is that at this time, Marley is preparing for a life-changing experience of her own. She has found out that she is a carrier of the BRCA gene. This is the gene that basically means you are very susceptible to having breast cancer, and she has made the decision to have a preventative mastectomy, and that procedure is going to happen in a couple of weeks. So she is preparing to say goodbye to both of her boobs, and a really major surgery that takes a very long time to recover from. This is something that runs in Marley's family. Her mom got breast cancer, and then her cousin also had a preventative mastectomy, and her cousin's mother, who is the sister of her mom, died of breast cancer. And so there is a very big present cancer storyline throughout this entire book. It's like literally the main thing. So Nick and Marley have reconnected over what Marley thinks will be just this one job, and she does a wonderful job styling Nick, and it goes so well. They end up at the hotel afterwards, and they just decide to rekindle some of that crush attraction that they had during high school. They did sleep together on prom night, but Nick ghosted her immediately afterward, and she did not have time to unpack that because that was when Marley's aunt died and she left school. So they really haven't seen each other since then, and they just decide, hey, Nick's really excited. Again, he's always thought Marley was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen, but he does not know, again, that Marley is looking for one last hurrah with her chest to, you know, really have sex one last time in her full whole body, because she's really like stressing about this whole procedure and what it means for her body and her life moving forward. The morning after, it's very awkward. They leave. They think they'll never see each other again. And then right as Marley is preparing to leave on a leave of absence and go have this surgery, the studio says that they want to contract her full time, and her job says that if she takes this contract, they will elevate her to personal shopper when it's done. So this is everything Marley's ever wanted, with the complication of her surgery. And so basically she and Nick work out this thing where Nick will live with her and take care of her while she styles him from her home. It's a whole big thing, and so it turns into a forced proximity, slightly second chance situation, mostly as Marley is recovering from her surgery. While I managed to focus my little synopsis there on just Nick and Marley, there are a lot of other things going on, and in the same way as Accidentally Engaged, there are a lot of friends and family members very involved in this story. Just like, you know, the memory of Marley's aunt, her parents that she has a really weird situation, like a relationship with, and then also on Nick's side as well. He is really, really struggling to adapt to this new celebrity life. His mom has a serious depression problem. His dad is just the sweetest person, love him. And he is also trying to take care of a younger sister who is in medical school, but trying to handle her own ADHD issues. He has an older brother who you find out is in jail, but is constantly trying to like worm his way back in with his family, and his brother going to jail is what caused his mom's depression. So Nick has his own thing going on, Marley has her own thing going on, and they're thrown together, rekindling old feelings in a very, very stressful situation. Recovering from a double mastectomy is a really, really big deal. The book is very honest about what that is like, the painkillers, the process, like draining, the things you have to wear. And as someone who's never really looked into what that process is like, this book is really eye-opening. It's very honest. And for anyone who's ever been looking for someone like going through that process, also being able to be in a romance novel and being seen both, you know, struggling and surviving and thriving and loving herself and being loved. I think it's a really, really great story for that. And while that's very, very present, and I would call it like the main thing of the novel, at the same time, Nick struggles with the studio, and being a diverse actor in a superhero set is also very, very present to the novel. And so there's like, you know, racism going on, there's medical issues going on, there's like women's health issues and South Asian family dynamics, and it's just a lot. And I think because of that, this ends up being a very quiet romance novel, in the sense that all of these more major issues are happening, and these much more major plot lines are happening, and like kind of like at the bottom of it all, Nick and Marley are just together. Nick is really taking care of her. Marley is learning how to allow herself to be taken care of and to open up. And a lot of that early stage kind of ends up being summarized. Like, you know, they do a lot of watching movies together, and they cook together, and he's there for her when she needs to go to a doctor's appointment. But because that is like purposely very repetitious, right? Nick is showing Marty that he'll always show up for her. It ends up being told more to you than shown to you while all of these other things are happening in the plot. And so you don't really see as much of their relationship grow until all of a sudden it's just kind of like happening, and you're like, well, I guess I knew that that's what was going to happen because this is a romance novel. But it's a little weird. This issue is compounded because the novel is constantly talking about who they were in high school and how big of a crush Nick had on her and how he thought she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen. And Marley is talking about how Nick was there when no one else was, when her aunt was sick and then dying. And you're like, okay, but I've never seen any of that either. And so when it comes to like this culminating moment where like they're both realizing how much the other person means to them, whether when they first get together or then, you know, after the inevitable like, then they're like, you know, gonna get back together. I just felt like I was being told so many things about their relationship that I hadn't really seen. And that for me, as someone who in a romance novel really values that growing closer, growing together, like whatever it is in the relationship, I really just felt like I hadn't seen, or I literally didn't have the background knowledge to understand. So I have a weird relationship with this novel because I feel like it has so many important topics in it, talking about, you know, breast cancer and women's health and the stress of even carrying this gene mutation, let alone having to deal with it in your daily life and knowing that it means that it's probably affected multiple people that you love. Just also other things like trying to have relationships with your parents. All of the parents, Nick's and Marley's parents, are very different. Their relationship with their extended family, Nick with his siblings, Marley has a beautiful relationship with her cousins, and she has a best friend who like comes in and out of the story as well. So I like really loved all of those different dynamics and the really, really important and interesting things the novel was doing with their individual storylines. But as a romance novel, it just really didn't hit that sweet spot for me because the romance was so kind of, it felt to me buried underneath it all. So I certainly don't want to dissuade you from reading this book. I do think that it is very beautiful and very sweet, but it is definitely just going to be a certain type of romance novel that I think you have to kind of be prepared for going into it, understanding that the romance, to me at least, is just not the center of this story, and it's just kind of something that kind of happens along the way of some other really great family, friend, class, culture dynamics that are going on. I do still highly recommend Accidentally Engaged. So, you know, this book is not yet out if you're watching this video the second it goes up, so you can go check out Accidentally Engaged first if something that's a little bit more cuter and more romance driven is more your style. Or, you know, when this one does come out, you can check it out from your local library, your local bookstore, however it is that you get your books, and give it a try for yourself. I do really, really appreciate Farah Heron as an author, and so I definitely would read more and other of her books as they come out, or I know that I've missed some as well. I just don't think, for me personally, wanting a like more, I think, fun, sweet romance where I am right now in my life, this just was not what I was looking for. But I value what the book is trying to do and how Farah always brings in like this really, really great extended family, other things going on element, even if this didn't seem to have the right balance. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I will be back more on time next week, but hey, as long as there's one of me eventually with these arcs that I've requested, I guess that's the main thing. Thanks guys. Bye.